So I gotta admit, I wasn't really expecting anything too explosive with this return for Bleach with the Thousand Year Blood War. Not because I was hoping for the worst, but this was a slower style episode, and I was enjoying it, getting caught up to speed. And you gotta hand it to Bleach, and you gotta hand it to the Quincy King, man, because, I mean, the title kinda spoils it, but I don't really pay attention to titles when I'm watching anime, so the last 9 days, I was like, yeah, whatever happens. And then just the casual going down the list of what each numerical value means to the point of getting to 9, saying these are the last 9 days of the world, as you casually set up Ishida to be the Quincy King's successor. You put in the 1 in 10,000 shot that Ichigo may not be able to return to the land of the living. You got yourself a damn good Bleach core is all I'm saying. Now, full live reaction to this wonderful return to Bleach is available on my Patreon if you would like to see my full uncut thoughts as I watch today's fantastic slower paced episode, kind of getting us caught up to speed as I said. It's over there if you're interested. And I gotta say, first things first, I feel like a lot of people aren't going to agree with my praise here, but I have to say it. This is not only my current favorite opening of the season, it's one of my favorite openings I've heard this year. I love it. Not only do I love how both on the ED and OP's part, the visuals are creative and different, there's something about just the bass and the vocals of the opening. The opening went in a completely different direction than I was expecting. Like, the first couple of seconds, you're like, okay, this is a jam, and then the vocals come in, I'm like, okay, that's not what I was expecting at all. But I have to say, that is hands down my favorite opening of the season so far. Now, there's still a few anime I'm waiting to drop their first episode, so could change. I mean, up to this point, I was saying Undead Murder Farce was my favorite opening, and I still think that's fantastic. But I like that one. I like the ending as well, but there's something about it, and just, I ain't skipping that whatsoever is all I'm saying. Now, like I said for the return, it is a slower paced kind of establishing episode, and maybe for some people that's boring. For me, I love it because honestly, my favorite parts when reading Bleach, because just a little refresher, prior to the first core Thousand Year Blood War dropping, I read up to that arc in the manga for the first time. And honestly, my favorite parts of Bleach, outside of obviously some really great fights, was honestly kind of like the seeing where every character was at a moment's notice. Like, there is such a large supporting cast, so given that it's been a couple of seasons since we last saw everyone, it was kind of nice getting up to speed all throughout the episode, showing us just the stakes of where we're at. And there is some big bombshell moments, of course, like I mentioned, such as the 1 in 10,000 chance of our boy not being able to return. And even though that's a pretty odds are in your favor, I mean, I feel like you don't just set that up and not have us at least worried for a moment when it seems like that is a little more than 1 in 10,000, maybe a 1 in 1 shot, I don't know. But definitely, given that the last core pretty much ends with, you know, we're not really sure where Ishida's going, and then we pretty much just start this episode right away with some cultist vibes and him being announced as like, hey, this is the person who's gonna rule when I'm no longer around. And I'm like, oh, what? I mean, there was a little bit of a funny moment with that whole blood goblet. Probably wasn't supposed to laugh personally, but I did so. I'm a child, shoot me. I like the fact that when, like, there's, like, this goblet, and, like, obviously the blood is going into it, and, like, after he's done drinking, he has, like, it just looks like he's got some nice red lipstick on, and he's ready to party on nightclub streets, and honestly, I just laughed at it. I thought it was funny, but I am interested to see where they go, because, obviously, with him potentially being on this side, I mean, we could have a very cool fight, potentially, with Ichigo, but at the same time, I hope our boy doesn't fall too deep to the dark side, but I guess we'll see, right? Only time will tell. I thought it was a pretty great establishing moment for the episode when you just have like this baby being like worshipped, and then you have like all these hands in the background, and then I'm like, oh man, those hands are gonna really wish they weren't a part of the cult, and then you see their life force basically being drained. Very cool establishing moment. There's actually this really fun ending shot with a 3D camera that kind of has like the big domes like going over everyone, and then you just kind of like are flying through, and you obviously see Quincy King and everyone. Some really nice production for sure. Granted, a lot of this episode was dialogue, so there's a lot of overhead shots, wide shots, some shots where not a lot's moving, but the art style remains consistent, and we know this season is, or this arc in general is going to continue to pop off. There's going to be big fights, and those fights are going to be absolutely jaw-dropping. But Bleach is at its most refined than it's ever been, and I think I'm really happy that rather than just going a split core in the route of like, oh, 3-month break and we come back, I do appreciate the shows, whether it's Mushoku Tensei or this, where we basically give 6 months, maybe even longer sometimes, for the next batch, because anime is a very hard industry. It's worked to the bone, there's too much anime to be made, not enough animators to go around, and outsourcing causes for a lot of inconsistencies when it's last minute. So the idea of having these 4 cores, and maybe the next, maybe core 3 will only be a 3-month wait, or maybe it'll be 6 months, maybe it'll be 9 months, I don't know. But I like the fact that they didn't rush into this one, meaning that while this episode may not have visually went insane, it was a consistent episode overall, and we know this is going to have some fights of the season, like some of the best fights of the season for sure, and I'm excited to see what they do. Like I said, I'm a sucker for just getting up the speed, seeing where everyone is, and obviously getting the stakes front and center. The successor to the Quincy King, the 1 in 10,000 shot that our boy may not be able to come back to the land of the living. We have the last 9 days of the world. I mean, I'm also kind of a sucker when there's a short time frame of a bunch of things happening. You see it all the time with a lot of shonen anime where like, okay, all this happens over a 24-hour period. To me, that just is a level of craziness that really excites me, just putting yourself in these characters' shoes, the amount of stress and anxiety over such a short amount of time. And while 9 days isn't the shortest time frame of all time, I mean, the world pretty much going is, yeah, 9 days isn't a lot of time. So I'm excited. They got me hooked right back in. I got to see all my favorite characters again, even if only for a couple of seconds. And honestly, the thing about Bleach is you're always going to have a fun time, even if characters are just cleaning up rubble. You'll look in the background and you'll say, why is this Kingpin build with a pink mustache? I don't know, but that's Bleach. Bleach has wild character designs and I love it. Though, I think probably my favorite single part that isn't like this big bombshell has to be that girl and how she just ruined that fool. So the idea of getting stressed when everyone learns about who's gonna be next in line, she takes some random hop guy's like, hey, come into my room, I'm stressed. He has the biggest grin of all time, and then the next frame is his skull just peeling, and I'm like, bruh. The fact that you just pick on hot guys whenever you're stressed, god damn, that was not the booty call he was expecting, but you gotta love Bleach and its brutality at sometimes the most unexpected moments. This was a very fun return. Love the opening, like I said, the ending as well, very solid. It just feels good to be back with Bleach, and I'm excited to see what they're gonna pull with plot twists, action scenes, set pieces, and the likes, because the stakes have never been higher, and I imagine it's only going to get crazier and crazier with each passing core, and I'm excited to see what they do going forward. But let me know what you thought of this return. Did you like the kind of establishing slower pace moments, or were you hoping that maybe they just jump back into the action right away? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have live reactions to this wonderful Bleach anime available on the Patreon. We'll be covering it there every week if you're interested, so consider supporting, and while you're there, you'll also get a video shout out. So today we have Hikari Lounge, Franklin Greenway, Andre, and Guzzlord. That might be my favorite name I've seen in a while. So thank you so much. Till next time, everyone, please take care. Have a good one.